Welcome to today's episode of On the Rocks. Today I'm excited to welcome Eira Thomas, the president and CEO of Lucara Diamond. Eira is a Canadian geologist with over 25 years of experience in the Canadian mining industry. In 2007, she founded Lucara Diamond with partners Lucas Lundin and Catherine McLeod-Seltzer, and since 2018, Eira has led Lucara as the president and CEO. In addition to her leadership of Lucara, Eira also currently serves as a director of Suncor Energy and as the chair of Suncor's governance committee. Eira's leadership has been recognized globally as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum, as well as one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women in 2007. On this episode, Eira and I dive into Diamonds 101. How are they found, mined, and processed, and what makes diamonds so different from every other commodity? We chat about the ESG issues specific to diamonds and Lucara's operations in Botswana specifically, and hear some great examples of what right looks like. I'm also really excited to have Eira share with you the wonderful initiative Lucara is working on with Chiffon, a young entrepreneur and jewelry designer, and the Women's Tennis Association, to highlight women's empowerment and pay parity in women's sports. If you learned something and enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to click subscribe and leave us a review in your favorite podcast app. And with that, pour a glass of your favorite beverage and let's dive in and talk diamonds. Eira, well, thank you so much for coming on the rocks today. I'm really excited to talk about diamonds with you. So thanks again for coming on.
Super pleased to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
So could you kick it off a little bit? We have a lot of non-traditional mining folks that listen to On the Rocks. So could you start us with kind of a Diamonds 101 to kind of get everybody up to speed?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So when we think about diamonds, they're incredibly rare in nature, and it's a relatively small industry compared to other mined commodities like gold or copper. There are fewer than 25 producing diamond mines around the world. And Botswana, which is where our mine is located, is the number one producer of diamonds, both in terms of production and in terms of value. And Botswana has been mining diamonds basically for the last 50 years. And it's been a really important economic driver for that country over that period of time because they've owned an interest in those resources since day one through their alliance with De Beers and Debswana. So diamonds is kind of an interesting commodity because it's the only mined commodity that doesn't really behave like a mined commodity. The pricing for diamonds is relatively stable because it's a luxury product. And if you have a positive view about world GDP growth, then diamonds is a good investment opportunity because it does tend to be stable and tracks along with that type of consumer outlook and pricing growth.
And when you say, a positive investment, I assume you mean both like investing in actual stones, but also investing in the companies that mine them.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. I actually encourage a lot of my female friends. I'm like, you wear gemstones all the time. Why not invest in the companies that mine them and produce them? I think it's like a totally undervalued part of the sector that people have a very emotional attachment to, right? I mean, you understand the appeal of diamonds, and you could say the same about colored gemstones and gold and platinum too. But it's such a great access point for people to invest in the sector because they kind of personally know what it does.
Absolutely. And when I think about diamonds, it's the hardest surface known to man. Diamonds are formed in ancient reservoirs that exist 200 kilometers below the surface of the earth. And they are then brought to the surface of the earth in ancient volcanoes. So they're really transported from, where they grow to the surface through these ancient volcanoes. And then we come along in the modern day and actually, dig up these kimberlites, extract the diamonds, and then essentially, reclaim the land thereafter. But what's really special about these diamonds is that they're obviously a natural substance from deep in the earth, but they're also, in some cases, billions of years old. So that sort of rarity factor, the unique nature of where they come from, really resonates with consumers. And it's one of the reasons that diamonds and diamond jewelry continue to be consumed to commemorate life's most, important moments. And that's one of the things I think that makes diamonds particularly special in the realm of gemstones and jewelry.
Now, do the gem quality diamonds and diamonds that are used for industrial purposes, are they found and mined at the same location? And it's just a matter of kind of sorting them out, or are they typically found in different areas?
Yeah, that's a great question. Every diamond deposit is different, and they usually all contain a combination of lower quality industrial goods as well as higher value diamonds that will be used in the gem industry. And it's really the proportion of gem versus non gem that ultimately determines whether or not a deposit will be economic.
Hmm.
In other words, the gemstones are really the driver. So yes, we produce some industrial stones as well, but 70% of the value of our diamonds comes from stones over 10.8 carats in size, and
Wow.
and generates 70% of our associated revenues as well.
That's fascinating. And I talk a lot on the podcast with folks about how, there's the exploration and then the mining side, but then you also, of course, have processing of all the different mineral commodities. And diamonds, of course, would have a very specific processing process, I guess, that they have to go through before they actually get to the consumer. So
Yes.
is that done within your company as well, the processing and the cutting, or where do you guys kind of hand it off to?
Yeah, that's another great question. I mean, typically in the industry at large, as mining companies, we would mine diamonds, clean them, and then ultimately sell them as rough diamonds to the midstream, who would then manufacture those diamonds into polished products that would then go on and get sold at the retail level. And
Mhm.
something that Lucara has really been working to change is that overall approach. And what we've been working to do over the last several years is to think about how we can create better alignment along the value chain using innovation and new technologies and by working differently with participants in the value chain. So, whereas 10 years ago, we would have sold all of our diamonds as rough diamonds, now we have a portion of our production that gets sold using technology through a secure web-based digital marketplace that
Mm,
actually provides assurance on diamond provenance. And then for all
mhm,
of our large high value diamonds, we're actually selling them into a committed manufacturing partnership with a specialist manufacturer located in Belgium named the HB Group, who use the latest technology in scanning and planning and cutting to really turn all of our rough diamonds into polished. And we're now selling polished product. And the way that HB gets paid is that they get paid a fixed fee on the basis of the final achieved polished sale, which is quite
oh,
different from the way, the industry has traditionally kind of worked and transacted throughout the pipeline. So we think this approach, we sell some diamonds still traditionally through auctions or tenders, but
mhm,
increasingly, most of our production is going either to the digital marketplace or to this committed supply agreement in manufacturing. And this allows us to create better alignment and also to work more directly with the brands to fulfill their needs and their demands. And so the result of all of that is that we're creating, I think, a much more stable marketplace that really supports kind of our ambitions to kind of grow demand for natural diamonds longer term.
and how does that all connect, Ira, in with the ESG movement? And specifically, I know there must be a lot of specific ESG issues related to gemstones and diamonds in particular. So how does this innovative approach kind of incorporate that?
Yes, ESG, obviously is something that's become increasingly important to all mining companies. And for diamonds, we are selling a luxury product. So consumers today really want to know that they are supporting responsible companies that actually care about the environment, that are really focused on their social commitments, and are also well governed. So this is something that's really important to us in our business model and strategy, and it's really foundational to the way that we work. We have a very close relationship with the government of Botswana. We work within 20 different communities in and around the vicinity of our mine. And our ambition is really to work with our communities of interest to identify their priorities and ambitions and needs in creating, sustainable options and opportunities that will, basically continue on after the finite life of a mine
Right.
after mining is basically ceased at Karowe. So we've gotten involved in a whole bunch of really interesting initiatives in Botswana, including food security. We've been
Mm.
involved in a number of agricultural projects. We've built an abattoir. We've been involved in the development of a state-of-the-art sports facility for our main community, Letlakani. And we're continuing on a number of other smaller community-based projects as well.
Yeah, because I can only imagine it's probably even harder than a copper or iron mine because of the perception that you are mining a luxury product. There may be a lot more sensitivity you have to have around the community understanding the business side of the mine, and it's not just like buried treasure that comes out of the ground and you can sell it right away and make tons of money, right? I don't know if that's correct or not, but I would imagine there's a different dynamic because of the luxury nature.
Well, most definitely. And something that's important to point out is that we are 99% Botswanan in our
Mhm.
operations in Botswana. And we actually have our managing director is the first ever female managing director of a mine in Botswana. And she was born and educated in Botswana. Our general manager also comes from Botswana. And so we're very proud of the fact that we are 99% Botswanan in our workforce. We're also
Mm.
30% female in our
Wow.
workforce, which is double the global average for female employment in the mining industry, which is something that we're proud of and we continue to work very hard at.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what did you have to do differently than pretty much everybody else in the industry in order to kind of have that model and be successful with it?
You know, we're fortunate that in Botswana, the country benefits from a lot of strong talent. And again, this is
Hmm.
a country that has been investing revenues from diamond mining over many, many years into, local infrastructure, building roads, building hospitals, building schools. The population is extremely well educated, and Botswana has had, no pay disparity for men and women since day one. So that also helps. But I think at the end of the day, for us, it's really about, the leadership and the tone from the top. We are 75% female in our executive team. And what we
Hmm.
found is that strong women like to work with other strong women. And we found that that's enabled us to really attract the right talent, and part of it is just around really developing that talent and thinking about how you can meet the needs of a female workforce in different ways than maybe traditionally, mining companies have been able to do.
No, I think that's such an important point. We've talked with a few different guests about how in each community, if the company does want to have greater involvement from the women in the community or other underrepresented groups, right? That the first thing you have to do is really understand the needs of that community and what is it that they want, not what you necessarily as the company assume that they want or would make it more attractive to come and work for at the mine.
So important to do that. You're exactly right. I think we all want to do. I think every mining company wants to do the right thing at the end of the day and create benefits that are lasting for the communities in which you operate. But the most important thing is to understand what their priorities are, and to work with those communities to find ways to meet those needs and priorities.
And I think that same lesson applies internally within companies as well, right? If you're trying to understand how to make the experience better inside of your company for groups that are advocating for change, first thing you have to do is actually understand what it is that they're asking for,
Yeah,
even in, right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's so. How did you end up focusing on diamond mining and getting into the mining industry in general?
I was really fortunate. I graduated with a degree in geology from University of Toronto in 1990, and it emerged into one of the worst bear markets for mining ever. It was
Mhm.
really challenging to get work, so I was doing local contract work, and I'd actually signed myself up to do some postgraduate work at a university in South Africa when diamonds were discovered in northern Canada by
Mm.
two, well-known geologists, Chuck Fipke and Stu Blessum, who were working in partnership with BHP Billiton. And this was the first major discovery of diamonds in northern Canada, and it sparked a massive staking rush. I come from a family that my father is a mining engineer, so he's worked in the industry his entire career, and and then evolved into the exploration industry early in his career. So, when the staking rush happened, my father was quick to get up to the Northwest Territories and acquire a very strategic land package. And then he summoned me back from South Africa basically to come help him begin the exploration efforts around what would become Canada's second diamond mine, Diavik. So I was
Mm.
really fortunate to have been brought into the industry at a time when little was understood about it in Canada, and we didn't have a lot of experience in Canada. So I really learned the diamond exploration trade from some very senior geologists in the business that had been successful in other parts of the world, like Botswana and South Africa. And that led to kind of 16 years of exploration and development, and the experience of taking a mine from early stage exploration right through to development. And then I went on to form my own diamond exploration company in 2000, which was also focused on Canada. And that company ultimately developed Quebec's first diamond mine about 5 years ago.
So you've been the diamond lady for a while then. Been the
Yeah, I dabbled a little bit in gold here and there as well, but diamonds definitely was it has been a real passion, I would say, for most of my throughout my career. And the opportunity to go to Botswana, which is one of the most prolific areas and most important geological endowments for diamonds in the world, was an exciting opportunity, and I was able to do that with my two investment partners, which was Catherine McLeod Seltzer and Lucas Lundeen. We formed this company together. That's where the name Lucara comes from. It's a combination of our three names, and we wanted to head to Africa and kind of apply all of the learnings, I think, from our efforts in Canada to try and to find a new deposit in Botswana.
and from a geology perspective, how different is it, the work that you did in Canada compared to the geology of Botswana?
The geology is somewhat similar, but the techniques for diamond exploration are completely different between
Really?
Botswana and Canada. So lots of learnings there. But we were really fortunate to be able actually to acquire an established deposit
Mhm.
from De Beers and another company called African Diamond Corp. They had previously assessed and dismissed Karowe as not being particularly attractive as a project for De Beers. It wasn't big enough. They didn't think it would be rich enough. So we were able to acquire it at an attractive price, and we then were able to advance the project and ultimately develop it. And within a few years, we realized that we were sitting on an incredibly important resource of very large, high value diamonds. And so the deposit has far exceeded our expectations. And we are, in fact, the only diamond mine in recorded history to have ever recovered three diamonds in excess of 1,000 carats in size.
Gosh, that's just amazing. That's got to be a fun day when those come out of the ground,
Well,
right?
it
Like,
was certainly a fun day when the first one came out of the ground. Well, with all of them, of course, but the first one was just an extraordinary experience, completely unexpected, and we felt that this deposit had the potential for big stones, but when you finally recover that first real whopper, it was a pretty momentous occasion for sure.
and what is it about a deposit that makes it more likely to have large stones? I have no idea what that would.
That's a great question too. We talked about kind of the diamond stability field, or the reservoir where diamonds come from, which is typically about 200 kilometers below the surface of the earth.
Mhm.
But with Karowe and with the type of diamonds that we're producing, we actually believe that these diamonds originate much deeper. So they have a signature that is slightly different. And we really believe these diamonds are what we call ultra deep diamonds that may originate as deep as 800 kilometers below the surface of the earth. So, again, it's a very unusual deposit. It's a rare deposit. You don't see this in every kimberlite deposit around the world, but there are a couple of other examples of ultra deep diamonds. But
Mm,
Karowe is one of the most prolific sources of these ultra deep diamonds. And we have been able to recover them because we've also applied, advanced technologies around diamond recovery systems that
mm,
allow us to recover these diamonds using something called XRT technology, which helps us to ensure that we don't damage these diamonds through crushing. So that
mm.
is an innovation that Lucara was the first company to adopt, and that really has helped us to preserve the value and make sure we recover these large, valuable diamonds intact.
And is that then XRT, is that in the extraction process when you're taking it out, or is it in the what?
It's actually in the recovery process. So this is once you've actually mined the material and it's gone through the very first comminution or crushing stage. So, what we really want to do, if any big diamonds are liberated during that first crush, we want to get them out of the plant before they actually go into the mill and have the potential to be broken. Because although diamonds are incredibly hard, they actually can be brittle and they are fragile
Mm.
if they're impacted. So XRT allows us to take that really large bulk material and process it quickly to allow those diamonds to be extracted before that material goes into the mill and gets crushed at a secondary stage.
'Cause I can imagine that listeners who haven't seen a mine or a diamond mine specifically in a mill might think in their head that diamond mining looks like somebody below ground with a pickaxe, like looking for a gemstone in the wall, right? Like kind of old school.
Seven
Uh,
dwarfs,
huh?
the seven dwarfs,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, Moore's model. So, but that's not what it looks like at all anymore, right?
No, it's true. I mean, we definitely have a lot of modern innovations in diamond mining today that, from how we think about designing the open pit itself versus, the plant design and then ultimately the recovery circuit. So yes, XRT definitely has changed the recovery aspects of how we get these diamonds out of the ground safely, but we do use a lot of incredibly modern technology today. And as we think about expanding our mine underground, and we are in the process of investing about $550 million in expanding our mine underground and extending our mine life out to 2040, we're looking at all sorts of new innovations around how we mine, including remote mining, robotics. There's many different kind of technology applications that are really brought to bear in a modern mine to make it safer and ultimately to make it more efficient.
Really cool. No, I'm excited keep watching that as it evolves then and see what you guys start to implement. Now, on the total flip side of, the actual mining part of what you do, I know you have this wonderful collaboration going on that kind of mixes fashion and women's empowerment with the diamonds that you're mining. And could you kind of share with us what you have going on that side?
Yeah, we are actually really excited to be partnering with a young jewelry designer out of New York who has a brand called Chiffon. And she, in turn, has been working with the Women's Tennis Association to collaborate on an amazing concept for the upcoming US Open that's to take place in August later this year. And we were approached by this young jewelry designer who is doing some amazing things with her business. 25% of all of her jewelry proceeds to go towards women's entrepreneurship. And as she began looking for sources of diamonds, she actually approached us, having done her research and really wanted an ethical source for her diamonds, for her jewelry, and came to us basically acknowledging all of the work that we've done around sustainability and the fact that we employ so many Botswanans and that we really make an effort around our environmental stewardship. So we began discussions with this young woman named Shilpa, and she in turn came up with the concept of creating a unique diamond tennis bracelet for the upcoming US Open to commemorate 50 years of equal pay for women in tennis, which
It's
I
amazing.
thought was actually pretty remarkable. So we're excited to be contributing the diamonds towards the development of those bracelets for the Women's US Open.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. And I am totally shocked. I had no idea that tennis had pay parity for that long, especially with the discussions that are going on around women's soccer and other sports. So kudos to them.
Yeah, it really is incredible. I was surprised to learn that as well, and was excited to have an opportunity to participate.
Yeah. Well, and I've been asking all of my guests, Ira, if you could change one thing about the mining industry overnight with a magic wand, anything, what would you change? Usually we're doing this over a cocktail. It's a little early that we're taping.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
no. Listen, I think that one of the things as an industry that we just have to do better at is communicating, our contributions. And I don't just mean economic contributions, I mean our social contributions. The mining industry does a lot to develop local economies around the world. And I think that, we've been so focused on what we've been doing, but we forget that it's really important to engage with our broader communities and really with the public at large about how important
Mhm.
mining is to the world. And as we always like to say, if it doesn't come from your garden, it comes from a mine. And I think, if there's one thing that I would want to do overnight, it would be to really try and change that narrative to make
Mm.
sure that, people really understand the importance of mining, and not only that, that it's an industry we can really be proud of because we've been making so many strides towards improving our performance in respect of the environment and certainly around our commitments to communities. And these companies again are extremely well governed by and large.
Yeah, and I imagine you've had to do a lot of that being in the diamond space specifically, right? And a lot of the issues that have been raised with blood diamonds and other topics historically. Has there been something specific that you've been able to do on that might be helpful for folks?
Yeah, listen, I mean, for us, our web-based platform where we sell diamonds between 1 and 15 carats in size, we call this digital marketplace Clara. Clara
Mhm.
standing for clarity, and really the effort around Clara is to bring confidence
Mm.
back to the diamond market and provide assurance where people know where their diamonds are coming from and feel confident about that. And I think today that is increasingly important. Consumers really want to understand, and so we feel that that will be something that is only going to, I think, increase over time. And so we have developed a technology which, provides that type of assurance for consumers.
No, and I know personally I really connect with that because as a geologist by background, when I work in different countries, I buy gemstones that are mined from the countries I work in and then have them set in jewelry so I can wear them, of course,
Yeah.
all over. It's such a direct connection to the story of a place. I think when you know exactly where a stone came from and even understand a little bit about the geology that created that stone in that place, I think it's such a powerful message, certainly, or at least that's what I tell myself when I'm spending a lot of
No,
money.
I think you're absolutely right, and what is fascinating is that the brands now are really recognizing the value in that storytelling. It used to be that you would walk into, any jewelry establishment and they wouldn't be able to tell you where that diamond came from. Today, we find people that are buying diamonds on Clara because it's a digital marketplace and they can get very specific on what they're looking for. They can choose which mine,
Mhm.
which country. They can even filter, ultimately on the day it was mined. So people can go and, find a diamond from a particular mine that was recovered on their anniversary date.
Yeah,
All of these things really lend themselves to, commemoration and telling that story and making that, gifting experience truly special. And I think that diamonds is really, along with other gemstones, are really, the types of products that really lend themselves to that opportunity.
absolutely. Yeah, I guess you don't have quite the same emotional connection to, like, the copper pipe that you're putting into your house or something. Right?
Yeah,
Important to
not quite the same. We probably should, based on where copper prices are going, have a vested emotional connection, but no, that piece of jewelry that you then can pass along, through generations, I think really, is an incredibly special thing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and the story of Lucara with us. I really appreciate it and look forward to hearing all the wonderful things you're doing as you move forward.
Thank you very much, Emily. I appreciate your time today.